problems anymore today. Yep, I know. It does keep ending. We're not going to have any of those issues today. Just refresh your pages, guys. Yep, we're back. Yep, sorry guys, we're dealing with some internet issues this morning. I just completely unplugged it, so we're good. We're good. We're going straight off Wi-Fi, and we're gonna keep rolling here. So, like I said, I'm kind of interested in this Antonio Gibson prop because I do think that he's going to get a lot of stuff in the passing game. And then to just touch on Grace Hughes saying he's going to get Rudolph catches the tutty today. Yeah, I mean I could see that too. Yeah, Giants winning outright, says Brian. Nice. Yeah, I mean, I feel like they have a shot tonight, but at the same time, this one is very weird from a numbers perspective. It's just, I don't know. Plus 3.5 seems a little weird, but at the same time, I don't really want to bet minus 179, and I don't want to touch the game total of 40.5. So I think we've spent enough time talking about this one. Let's move on to the actual Sunday card. Now, we start off with a matchup between the New Orleans Saints and the Carolina Panthers. This one has the Saints at -3 underdogs here, with the Panthers coming in at plus 160 on the money. The total sits at 45. Obviously, we saw Jameis Winston be almost an MVP type caliber player as far as efficiency goes from the touchdown department last week against the Packers. 5 touchdowns, and he even threw it under 150 passing yards. So can he do that and can maintain the success here? I think that was a little bit fluky in week one, but I do think at the end of the day that the Saints are the better team coming into this one. Now, Carolina looked pretty decent with their weapons last week. They did face the Jets, and I was a little bit perturbed that they didn't score more actual points. So 17 points to get, or whatever they scored, 17, 19 against the Jets is just not going to be enough against this Saints defense. Give me New Orleans -3 all day here. I know that this probably jumps up to -3.5, -4 by Sunday, so take advantage of this one right now, guys. -3 New Orleans Saints could have you could actually see a world where this game goes under. It is a division game. The Saints are playing on the road again, so I think that the safest bet here is probably -3. I want to see your guys' thoughts for the Panthers here. We saw what the Saints defense was able to do last week against the Packers. I think it was a definite. They just came out to play, and I think that this Saints team is fueled up, ready to go. I was concerned a little bit about what they would look like with that hurricane drama all over them and in their locker room, but they looked like they wanted to overcome adversity and just get the job done here. So I think the Saints, for me, are pretty a popular bet at -3. What's going on, Nick? 17-16 Panthers. Yeah, if they're only scoring 17 to 20 points, they're not going to be able to keep up with this Saints team, which is kind of why I like the under here. You could see the Panthers score 14 to 17 points in this one if this defense is what I think it is. They're a little bit banged up. I know Marshawn Lattimore is going to miss this game. He's going to have surgery on his thumb. He was playing with a cast the other day too with that. I know that a lot of the Saints have issues with COVID right now, mostly coaching staff, but the NFL has changed their protocols to where the coaching staff comes back a little bit faster than the players do. So I don't know. I don't see any issues with the Saints having COVID. Not necessarily right now. It is Thursday, so things can change. We'll get news on this probably during the show today. So if you guys see something like that come across, feel free to let me know. Safest bet is staying away from this game in DFS. Yeah, I mean, I would stay away from it in DFS for sure, but I think this is a valid thing today to talk about. We aren't really talking DFS. We're talking more about traditional sports betting. So New Orleans Saints -3 is what I'm going to go with here. All right, let's move on and talk about this next game. It's the Houston Texans versus the Cleveland Browns. Right now, the Browns are -13 here. To me, that sticks out. It seems kind of high. Just I know that Texans defense is bad, but that seems like a lot of points for an NFL game, especially this Cleveland Browns offense. Game total sits at 48. While they're good, the Browns, I mean, I just feel like this number scares the crap out of me. This feels backdoorish. And it feels like they could be up by 2 scores the majority of the game, and then Houston scores the garbage time field goal or touchdown. Yep, I agree. It's too many points. So For me, I think there are awesome props to go with this one. I think you can use Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb in a lot of these. I think you can take advantage of the rushing props here. I think that both of these running backs are certainly in play. And on the other side, I'm not too interested in doing anything with the Texans. If anything, if you had to force my hand, I would say Houston Texans plus 13, just because I never like betting that high of a number there. And again, like I said before, if you guys missed it earlier in the show, we've seen some pretty crazy underdog numbers so far this season. Not sure if that's the market adjusting to things. If BetOnline's putting these underdogs at too high of a number, maybe people just want to keep smashing the home favorites here or the favorites on the road. But yeah, for me, this is a stay away spot. I do like the over of 48 because I do think both teams can put up some points here. But at the end of the day, I might just stay away from it from this angle. D-Ramified still says you take the Browns anyway. Jay Moore, good morning. Rather tease Cleveland and Houston side. I would tease the Cleveland side if I had to tease one. But again, that's kind of gross. So, yeah, I don't know. For me, it's more of a stay away spot, and you don't want to get backdoored or beat by the Houston Texans. Like that's just gonna ruin your weekend, right? So, I don't have any confidence in going that way, but it is what it is. So far this season, oh, dude, I'll drink. I'll drink for you. I got to get this coffee in anyway. I know you're gonna be disappointed in me, but it's coffee time, Nick. Yep, agreed. Okay. Yeah, again, guys, I think that 13 points in any game is too much, no matter who's playing. So I think so. I'll have to look into this, but we covered this last year. Any team that had, because we saw some crazy spreads from the Kansas City side of things last year. I think that at one point they were minus 15, minus 16 favorites, and I think, again, I'm gonna be totally wrong here probably when I say this, but if my memory is correct, I believe that there's been around 10 to 12 games in the NFL history that the favorite has been more than 15 points. And in almost every scenario, I think 1 out of 10 or 1 out of 12 the favorite has covered that spread. So for me, I'm staying far away from anything that's more than 12 points. And I think that you guys should do the same. Yeah, we'll get to Kansas City, and that goes to my exact point. I mean, that's just so many points for an NFL game. Can it happen? Sure. I mean, we saw Houston put up 37 points, and then they blew out the Jacksonville Jaguars by almost 25. So, like, it can happen. But again, banking on that and trying to not have that ruin your weekend is something that I try to stay away from. We talked about this last week on this exact stream on Thursday before week 1 of the NFL season. It's not about like being successful in this industry is, few and far between are able to do it. A good winning percentage is 51%, and a fantastic winning percentage is 53 to 54%. Now, it does not mean that you smash every single pick in every single game. You don't put 10 bets down. You don't put 15 bets down. Some of you will, and that's totally fine because you want to have fun. But for me, I'm looking to make money and have fun at the same time. So hammering 2 to 3 ones that I really, really like are the way to go. And that's why I say that I'm staying away from the game. But that's why I don't see maybe an angle that I can take that I actually feel comfortable with. So at the end of the day, for me, this one's a stay away. I'm not touching it. I think you can view props and things for this one a little bit more than the other games, but for me, it's a complete stay away. All right, let's go ahead and talk about the Cincinnati Bengals taking on the Chicago Bears. We obviously have the Andy Dalton, not revenge. I don't think this is a revenge scenario. We saw this happen last year too. Chicago Bears, Andy Dalton, though, the one thing that I am concerned of here is that this could be his last start as a Chicago Bear. And then they turn the thing over to Justin Fields because this Bears team gets a little bit of an easier schedule. I think that we do see, like we saw last week, where Fields is going to have his own package and come in at certain times of the game. So that automatically makes me think that this game starts to turn a little bit towards Chicago. I'll take the -1 for Chicago here right now. I think that they're the better team straight up. But the Bengals defense is definitely something to consider. They look pretty good against Minnesota. They were able to hold their own. I think I like the total of over 45 in this one as well. But yeah, give me Chicago from a first look standpoint. And then the over on this one too, I like quite a bit. There will be some Cincinnati backers in the chat, and I don't have any doubt that they can get the job done as well. But for me, I do respect the Bears' defense enough to where I'm okay taking them as a home favorite. And if this was a neutral site, I would probably still bet Bears, and you'd probably get them at a pick 'em or +2 there. So I will go with the Bears here. I think Joe Burrow looked decent last week. The thing that I'm most surprised about and thing to keep an eye on moving forward for DFS, for season long, and for betting is these props for Joe Mixon. So if Mixon he got 30 touches last week and 29 of them were on the ground. If he has that kind of usage week over week over week, we'll be able to exploit that. This one is not really one that I like to exploit. They held the Rams pretty good last week. Now, I mean, obviously the Rams are a very, very run-heavy offense. They run the ball very well. They have good backs that can do so. Joe Mixon is definitely a competent back. We have both sides of the ball have competent backs in this one with David Montgomery as well. But for me, when Akeem Hicks is in and healthy, it's very tough to run on him and this Bears front seven. So I don't know. For Joe Mixon, I think it's a player prop worthy situation, especially if he gets the touches there. But I think that still, at the end of the day, I would go with the Chicago Bears at -1. Anytime touchdown Monty. Yeah, I'll have to take a look at that. I would say his touchdown prop is probably sitting around, it's not minus money. It's probably +150 or so. And that's a very good bet to have this week. We saw what Montgomery was able to do against the Rams. He looked great. It's a tough defense to run against, and this Bengals team is not a tough defense to run on. So I like that Montgomery prop quite a bit. We might be putting that one into our Sunday ticket, Mister Grace to you. So let's move on here. I know that we're flying through some of these games, so we'll just take our time. And if you guys have any questions, I can field them for you in the chat here. Rams 74 rushing yards as a team. Yeah, exactly. I mean, we got a little bit lucky with the Darrell Henderson touchdown on Sunday night, but the Chicago Bears run defense is always very good or above average if they have Akeem Hicks. If they don't have Akeem Hicks stuff in the middle, it makes things a lot more difficult for them to hold running backs to consistent 2 to 3 yards per carry. Brian, I can definitely take that question later in the Thursday afternoon stream. I think you're referring to DFS. If you're not, let me know. I can easily pivot and talk about something related to that from a season long or betting perspective. But right now, we're going to try to keep the DFS questions to a minimum outside of rushing props or actual player props themselves. For season long? Yeah, I'll answer that later for sure. Maybe we'll have some time at the end of the show to talk about it. How many games covered did I miss? And of those, were there any games bets that you loved? We've talked about 3 games or 4 games so far, Nick. The only one that I really liked was the New Orleans Saints -3 on the road against Carolina. I also have some interest tonight in the New York Giants +3.5, so maybe you'll be happy to hear about that. But everything else has kind of been a little bit of a stay away. I'm not going to jump out of my chair for anything else that we've talked about so far. All right, let's go ahead and talk about this next game. Another noon game here. It's the Las Vegas Raiders against the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is a West Coast team flying over to play the East Coast. I know that neither of these guys are actually on the coast, but it still requires some travel time and an early start for the Vegas team. Right now, Pittsburgh's getting -5.5 here at home. The game total sits at 47. This one's interesting for many reasons. We saw the Raiders, who are going to be coming off a short week. They probably, didn't practice on Tuesday. That Monday night performance was definitely special for them at home. They're going to be riding high into this one, ready to take on a much, much tougher defense in the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Ravens were definitely getting beat up in that one down the stretch, and they lost a lot of key defensive players the week before and during the game. So Pittsburgh comes in a lot healthier. They've made some adjustments to make sure that their secondary is a little bit more prepared for this game than they were in week 1. Still had a great showing against the Buffalo Bills. I was completely wrong against on that one. Steelers were a lot more healthy than I had realized, and I will take. I that's on me. I'll take the L on that one. Pittsburgh Steelers come in. Obviously, uh, it's that's kind of a tough number for me to swallow at first glance, just because we don't know what this offense looks like. They're gonna play smash mouth football, and it's gonna be gross. It's gonna be dirty. I think that this one kind of feels like an under spot at 47. I don't think many points are actually scored here. I think the Raiders looked good on offense late, but they kind of stumbled out of the gate here, and they only scored, I think it was 10 points in that first half. So I don't know. This could be a letdown spot for the Raiders coming in here. And then BetOnline obviously thinks so as well. So right now, I mean, honestly, the only thing that I really want to bet is the under of 47. That kind of tells you that I'm not really interested in the game in general. This is not an underdog spot that I would feel comfortable taking. Um, yeah, I mean, not many comments on this game from me. I know that we have some Steelers fans in the chat as well as some Raiders fans. I'm interested to see where you guys think this one's going to go because honestly, I'm probably, again, this is boring. I know that I don't have a hot take for it at all, but like, I don't just, this game just doesn't scream betting to me. I might be interested in getting some Najee Harris player props at a low price tag. Everybody's buying low, or selling Najee Harris. They're throwing him out the window one game into the season. I think he still has a lot to prove. I think he still will get to that 20 to 25 touch mark as the year goes on. Maybe we were a little bit too high on him coming into the year in that matchup. It was kind of a tough matchup to start the season in Buffalo, but I thought that the game script would have played out the way that he would get all those touches. It just goes to show you that I think Big Ben last week was trying to do too much with the ball at the goal line. I remember seeing in the chat that everybody was, you know, letting him have it in the chat. Big Ben making some weird decisions back in his old age now, starting this season off. I know he's healthy. He looked like he was, but at the same time, very poor decision making for that Steelers offense in clutch scenarios. Their defense definitely bailed them out. Grace to you. Have fun. Let's see. Ugly, but it gets the dub. Yeah, I mean, I think Pittsburgh gets the dub here too, and I'm not willing to bet and have the Raiders backdoor cover that. So at the end of the day, I don't know, man. It just seems like a complete stay away spot. Jay Moore, got to run. We'll try to catch the DFS show later this afternoon. Yes, sir. We will be covering practice reports for Thursday, and we will also be talking Thursday night football for the single game and showdown between Washington and the New York Giants. Mariota is out. Well, he only played like one snap and he's out. That's weird. Anyway, we don't really know the status of Josh Jacobs either. He was dealing with that toe injury. I'm not really sure if they what the designation was for that, um, but I think it could be something turf toe related. I know that he changed shoes in that game as well, so it's going to be really interesting to see what he looks like. A banged up Josh Jacobs after week one does not look good, but the good news for them is that they do have Kenyon Drake who can step up and make some plays. I think Darren Waller may have a little bit of a tougher time seeing, but at the end of the day, I mean, he's going to be a force to be reckoned with all season long. And the target share of almost 30% the other day makes me just like that side a little bit for a prop, maybe. We'll have to see what that number is as the week goes on here. Uh, oh, the one injury that we need to bring up is the Gerald McCoy injury for the Raiders defensive line. That's a huge one. You might see this Pittsburgh run the ball more. I don't know if I can trust that necessarily, but the Pittsburgh Steelers could have some more success running the ball. I'm not too sure how much I want to bet on Najee Harris running in between the tackles, but maybe they start doing that. Maybe they start making things click on the ground, and at the end of the day, it's just another reason why I don't like this game much. It's pretty gross. If he even gets close to 19 targets, yeah, I mean, Darren Waller probably won't get 19 to 20 targets again this season. A lot of it had to do with game script. A lot of it had to do with matchups. We saw Patrick Queen try to guard him. He couldn't do it. They needed extra help, and then when they finally thought that they figured it out, they were piecing him up everywhere else, and Darren Waller was still able to get in the end zone. So he's not going to be a guy that gets that many targets again. But at the end of the day, he's going to get 12, probably 10 to 12 a game. So he can break any slate with that amount of targets. All right, let's continue talking here. We may have to. make some of these pretty fast because we are at the half-hour mark of the show. So let's keep on going. Let's talk about this Buffalo Bills and Miami Dolphins game. Another kind of gross game on paper. The Bills come in at -3 here on the road. The Miami Dolphins getting plus 155 on the money. 47.5 is the total in this one. I like this game a little bit better than I like the previous one, but this could be an interesting bounce back spot for the Bills. Don't love the fact that they get to play this Miami defense that's slow and likes to ground the ball or like grind it on offense. It's Miami. If Buffalo has any chance of winning this game, I think that they do, and I think that the reason they do is because they force Miami to play fast and try to keep up with them. The Buffalo Bills should their number one game plan should be to come into this game with a new mindset and play their kind of football. The Steelers were not into this. They weren't trying to play up to the speed of the Buffalo Bills, and that is one of the reasons why they ended up losing the game. So for me, Miami is obviously the slower paced team here. Buffalo is one of the fastest paced teams in the league. I talk about pace a lot in DFS, and it applies here as well. I think that you can feel comfortable betting Buffalo -3 in a very good bounce back spot. I'm I think that this team is very good. They have the chance to go back to the AFC Championship game. I still think Josh Allen has MVP caliber type season in him. So for me, I think that if they can play their game and force Miami to play up in pace, I don't think the Dolphins stand a chance here at home. So give me Buffalo Bills -3. I'm probably not touching anything else in this one. Next game we have here, as we wrap up the 1 p.m. games, are the Los Angeles Rams and the Indianapolis Colts. This game looks to be very interesting from a viewership perspective. The Rams come in as -3.5. And I'm looking at this down the stretch here, guys. Another road favorite. We didn't start out hot that way. We obviously have the Saints up here, and then we have the last several games we talked about. We're going to be talking about a lot of road favorites coming in on the road this year, or in this week for week 2. So the Los Angeles Rams, another one of those road favorites, coming in at -3.5 behind Matt Stafford and this new offense. You have the Indianapolis Colts, who honestly got their shit kicked in against the Seattle Seahawks. The game total sits at 48.5. This game is going to be played in a dome. There will be a chance of having that the roof opened a little bit, but the Colts, both teams are comfortable playing in a dome situation. I think the Rams will try to control the game and run the ball. They have the better matchups for the wide receivers against that Colts secondary. And on the other side, the Colts, they're getting it together. I think that they'll find their rhythm, but they looked lost against the Seattle Seahawks. They looked absolutely stunned. They weren't able to play their kind of football that they like to play. They're going to try to dink and dunk with Carson Wentz and those running backs. We saw Jonathan Taylor be involved in the passing game a lot. We saw Nyheim Hines with his new contract be involved in the passing game a lot. Not too much with the wide receivers or the tight ends. They haven't really had that guy that stepped up yet. I think Michael Pittman could be the guy that does that. I think Zach Pascal is just fine too. But again, they're facing this Rams secondary and this Rams front seven that can tear they can just destroy any single offense. I don't care who they're playing. So I think this one's a little bit of a slow, grinded out kind of game, kind of like we saw on Sunday night. It should be good to watch. I think the game does stay close, but at the end of the day, the things that I'm interested the most are the Rams -3.5. I'm also interested in the under of 48.5. I said it last week. I don't think that this Colts offense is ready yet. I think that they can find their groove eventually down once they start getting a little bit easier matchups. But to come out and have Seattle week 1 and then the Rams week 2 is a really, really tough way to start out the year. So the Colts, for me, I'm staying away from. I think that you can take advantage of this offense for right now. They just don't seem to be able to find a rhythm. They're not going to beat this Rams team by dinking and dunking their way down the field with their running backs. The Rams are just too good personnel-wise, and they'll take away everything else and focus on rushing the quarterback. And I don't think that they stand a chance, honestly. So like I said, should be close, but at the end of the day, the Rams could run away with this one, and they could end up winning by 10 plus on the road. All right. San Francisco 49ers against the Philadelphia Eagles. Right now, again, San Francisco, another road team, is coming in at -3 in Philly. This is a plus 150 spot for the Eagles. The game total sits at 50. Things that stand out to me: the Eagles' offense looked really, really, really good last week, outside of their false start penalties and holding penalties, and the 49ers' defense looked atrocious last week against the Detroit Lions. Now, obviously, we've talked a bunch this week about the 49ers running back situation. That's definitely a DFS type of conversation, but how we can bring that into traditional sports betting is fairly simple. I think that you can feel comfortable rostering, or not rostering, you can feel comfortable, like my DFS brain's kicking in right now. You can feel comfortable playing a player prop for Eli Mitchell. I like the over of his rushing attempts. I think that I'm not scared in Trey Sermon taking that work. We saw that he was a coach decision last week. He didn't get much work in the preseason either. We saw a lot of Hasty in the preseason. We saw a lot of Gallman, who's now gone. I know that they signed Trenton Cannon from Baltimore earlier in the week. I believe that was yesterday. And then we also saw Kerryon Johnson come in and take a practice squad spot. The way that this works for the roster, the 53-man roster, is that I do believe that we're going to see this shift probably in the next couple of weeks, but for this week specifically, it's going to be the Eli Mitchell show. That's a DFS conversation for later today, but I also think that you can take the traditional route and go with the over of his rushing prop as well as the amount of rushes that he gets. As long as Jimmy G is quarterback, and he's going to be quarterback because they did win this game, or their game last week. As long as he's the quarterback in this one, they're going to be running the football. I think that Trey Lance will have a package or two. We saw that last week at the goal line when he threw that ball to Sherfield in the end zone. But I still think that this 49ers team is going to remain run heavy. So for me, I think that he's going to be like you said in the chat perfectly, Desert Zombie. Trey Sermon is going to be slowly eased into this offense. I don't see any reason why we should be fretting or worrying about Eli Mitchell this week from a DFS perspective or from a prop betting standpoint. So for me, and I'm not even going to get to this yet because we still have to talk about the Eagles, because I think the way I was talking about this, you guys were thinking I was going to bet 49ers, but my actual interest lies in this Philly Eagles team. I think this is one of the best underdog spots to bet on the card. We saw this Eagles offense come in, and I know that Atlanta's defense is bad, but they came in and they did their job, and they were able to score a bunch of points, and Jalen Hurts looked very good. Hurts, I think, has MVP caliber in him. Maybe not this season, but I think that he's going to take a huge step up in 2021 and in 2022 and possibly be in that MVP conversation in the next two seasons. He is the real deal. I think he's one of the best young quarterbacks coming up, if not the best. And I think that with this team, he's been really connected with a lot of these guys. Miles Sanders looks great. The O-line looks great. Devonta Smith looks great. I think that now with the Ertz injury, Dallas Goedert could get some more work, and he already has a really good rapport with him. Jalen Rager's fantastic. I think that this Eagles team takes a huge step forward this season. They have a real shot to win the NFC East, and I think that you can bet and feel very comfortable whether you want to go +3 here if you don't feel 100% confident with them winning, or you can just go outright at +150. I think the Eagles at +150 is one of my favorite bets on the card, and I'm really interested to see what chat thinks about that, because I think that we're going to have a lot of talk about San Francisco. I know a lot of San Francisco fans are in the chat. We're going to be talking about them all week like we have for DFS, but give me the Eagles +150. I think that's probably one of the more contrarian bets of the week for me. Now that they got rid of Wentz bad juju. Not much comments on the Niners, guys. I'm kind of shocked. Kind of surprised. Anyway, we got some more football to talk about. Kind of have to fly through these next 20 minutes. Let's talk about we have two more games in the 1 o'clock card. Boo this man. Yeah, I don't know, man. Watch out for the Eagles. That's all I'm saying. Until your defense gets things back together, I don't know how much I can trust it. The Denver Broncos here against the Jacksonville Jaguars. This one's pretty simple. The Jaguars, I don't think, are a good football team. They're not going to be a good football team this year. It's going to be a rebuilding process for the next 2 to 3 years, maybe even 4. Meyer looked absolutely stunned after being destroyed by the Houston Texans, who I've said are the worst team in the league. So maybe we have to give some respect to Houston a little bit and say Jacksonville's the worst. But yeah, for me, it's all about the Denver Broncos. Denver's defense has the ability to be top five this year. I know that we're going to be talking a lot about them for DFS, but Melvin Gordon and Javonte are both firmly in play from a player prop perspective this week. I think that Teddy Bridgewater, even with the injury to Jerry Jeudy, I think they find a way to make things work. And this is more about the defense stopping Jacksonville than it is this Denver Broncos offense, because Denver's going to score points. It's not going to be pretty probably, but they're going to score points. So for me, I'm staying away from the total because I don't trust the Jaguars offense at all. And I'm going Denver -6 on the road. Again, another road favorite here in this spot. I think that yeah, I would take advantage of a shot at the night. Yeah, I don't know. Josh can suck it for today. He's not going to listen to this stream. Uh, anyway, the Denver Broncos for me -6 here, and you can't even going back to the Eagles thing, Brian. Josh's second favorite team, if you didn't know, is the Philadelphia Eagles behind Jalen Hurts this year. So for me, going back to this one, Denver Broncos -6. Yeah, I think that also, yeah, good point, Bacon. I was going to bring this up right now, so I'm glad you brought that up too. Teddy Bridgewater historically is one of the best, if not the best, among active players of covering spreads. So whatever that may be, I don't know. He's usually an underdog, so dating back to his days in Minnesota and at Carolina, they were mostly underdog scenarios, but he does get a spot here where he's a favorite. They were able to cover last week really easily against the Giants. This is a better matchup for Denver than it was last week, so give me the -6 here. I don't care if it's a full touchdown. I would even, if you guys want to feel comfortable with it, you can double down and go with an alternate line on BetOnline.ag. They have alternate lines, so you can probably get Denver at -10 for even a bigger amount of money, probably like plus 150 if you wanted to. So yeah, give me that all day long. Denver points all the way. I'll probably be betting that one myself today, tomorrow, and Saturday, all the way up until kickoff. New England Patriots against the New York Jets. We saw Mac Jones come out pretty strong in his week one outing, throwing over almost 40 times against that Miami defense. This one's going to be a slow slugfest. Not really interested in it from a betting perspective. We did see the Patriots run the ball a lot too, so that just gives me one more reason to kind of stay away from the game. The total of 42 is priced appropriately, as both offenses should probably struggle in this spot. Not too happy about the divisional matchup here. So 6 seems like a lot of points, but I'm also not willing to back Zach Wilson and go +6 on the other side. The Jets they started to figure it out last week against Carolina in the second half, but they came out extremely slow. So honestly, I mean, the total of 42 actually seems a little bit too high for this spot. I'm not going to bet it, but we could easily see this game go similarly to what happened last week in the Jets-Panthers game. At that game ended up being like 35 total points. So it would be a little bit sweaty toward the end, as most of these unders are. But for me, it's a complete stay away, and I'm not going to be doing anything related to it for traditional sports betting or for DFS purposes. Let's move on and talk about the afternoon card. We have about 6 more games to go. This first one is the Minnesota Vikings taking on the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals are -3.5 here at home. The game total sits at 51. One of the more juicy. This entire next 5 games is going to be absolutely amazing to watch as a fan. So guys, if you want to snooze on the first 3 hours of Sunday, you might have the opportunity to and just set your alarms and wake up to see all these games with 50 point totals. It's going to be a lot of fireworks in the afternoon. So the Minnesota Vikings here didn't look great against the Bengals. They lost in overtime to a pretty good kick from McPherson, the rookie for the Cincinnati Bengals, their kicker. They come in here. They are going to play an Arizona Cardinals defense, first defense that looked fantastic behind Chandler Jones. I know there's some drama surrounding that, but he should be playing in this one. And yeah, I mean, Arizona's offense looked incredible. I have nothing bad to say about either side of the ball. And yeah, give me all the Arizona here, -3.5. I think that you can even feel comfortable betting them at -4 or -5. I think this line does get to -4 by Sunday. So yeah, give me the Arizona Cardinals -3.5. I'll probably stay away from the over just because I don't know what Minnesota offense we're going to get. They're going to be forced out of their comfort zone and be forced to play up in pace. I'm not sure that they're going to be able to rely on Dalvin Cook like their game plan was last week. We saw Cook get into the end zone late but I don't think that they have that same approach this week. Arizona's fast. Arizona plays up in pace. They're one of the fastest paced teams in the league. And then with Kyler Murray there, I don't know. I just feel so comfortable backing this Arizona team, and they should have no problem with the Vikings. This game is fantastic, and let's move on to another fantastic game. We're gonna get crushed by the pass rush. Yeah, dude. Man, Chandler Jones is just something else. 5 sacks in one game is just absolutely insane. He could have a really, really fantastic season for Arizona. Let's go ahead and move on. We talked about Kansas City having the biggest spread of the week. It's actually not Kansas City. It is going to be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers going up against the Atlanta Falcons, minus 12.5. Again, similar to the Houston Texans and Cleveland Browns game. That's a lot of points for an NFL team to cover by. I don't care how good they are. I don't care how lopsided things are. This is still the NFL, and they're still NFL athletes. And I don't feel comfortable betting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers minus 12.5 here. You can tease the Falcons if you would like to. I don't want to trust any side of that. The one thing I do have interest in is a possible over of 52 in this game. But again, if that Atlanta offense doesn't show up, it could be a spot where this game, where they still cover, but it's not necessarily a blow the doors off situation. The team total for the Bucks is one of the highest on the week. For me, it's just I don't know. I think this is more of a DFS game, guys. And we know that Ronald Jones is back, so there's really no position that we can take. Maybe if you want to go for an Antonio Brown to score a touchdown prop bet, I think that's interesting. I think Chris Godwin to score a touchdown is interesting. But yeah, from the other side of the ball, I just see no reason for us to target any player props for this one. Tampa Bay is a fantastic survivor lock. I will say that. So Bacon, you're spot on. Um, it might not be a great idea to do Tampa Bay week 2, just because you kind of want to keep Tampa Bay in your wheelhouse and in your stock there. So if you feel comfortable putting them out there in week 2, that's fine. I have no reason to. You should never worry about them losing this game, but it could be an interesting spot where you might want to use the Browns against the Houston Texans instead of the Buccaneers against the Falcons. Yeah, Chandler Jones wants to get paid. De-ramified Falcons plus 12.5, easy dub. Wouldn't say easy, but it's definitely something where I could say that they have a better chance covering it um, than like a -9 or a -10. Yeah, I like the Green Bay Survivor as well. We can talk about them. We'll get to them in the next 10 minutes. Again, thank you guys for tuning in this morning. I know that we crashed a few times early in the stream. We should be good to go now. We've been good for the last 40 minutes or so, and we're going to keep rolling along as we get the rest of these afternoon games out of the way here. We have the Tennessee Titans against the Seattle Seahawks, another huge game. Second highest or third highest game total on the board at 54. Seattle Seahawks are coming in -5.5 at home. We saw the Tennessee Titans get absolutely embarrassed in that first game against Arizona. I think that they do bounce back a little bit here, but the secondary concerns definitely scare the crap out of me from it. If you're a Tennessee fan, you should be very, very afraid of that. They should be able to run the ball with Derrick Henry and kind of establish their ground game a little bit more easily in this one. But Seattle has 2 elite pass catchers and a fantastic quarterback, and I think that they absolutely light up the Titans here. I'm more interested in the over of 54 in this game because I do think Tennessee scores and gets back on track this week. But I think 5.5 is a little bit too much for my liking. So give me the over of 54. This one has the makings of what could be a sweaty shootout from DFS, and also from, like, you shouldn't have to sweat this one out midway through the third quarter if you're betting the over. I think we can feel comfortable in saying that this one's probably going to end up being like a 32-27 type game, maybe even like a 35-31 type game. It's going to be an absolute madhouse in this Seattle Seahawks offense. If last week was any indication of what they're going to be like this year, especially just early, I'm not saying the whole year, just early, until they revert back to their old ways and start running the ball in stupid situations. But right now they're they're letting Russ cook, and they're not really using Chris Carson on the ground too much. So give me the over of 54. I think there's a real shot that we see this total hit 55.5 by Sunday. The Dallas Cowboys here taking on the Los Angeles Chargers. The Chargers come in at -3.5. I also think this one is a barn burner and fantastic for DFS and for sports betting. Yeah, man, I think both of these offenses have fantastic days. We already saw what Dallas was able to do against the Tampa Bay Bucks, who is a defense that I respect. I think Tampa Bay's defense is the best in the league. And the Chargers, while they faced Washington, who is a very tough front seven on the road, they get a home game against the Cowboys. I'm not afraid of the Cowboys defense. I think this has another making of a fantastic shootout scenario. I see a little bit of juice coming towards the under here at 55.5, but I can honestly see this one shaping out kind of like the Seahawks Titans game. It's going to be an awesome game for DFS. But yeah. Also, yeah, John, thank you for bringing it up. It was in my notes. We do have news, obviously, that Marcus Lawrence is going to be out for the remainder of the season with that broken foot that he sustained earlier in the week. So that's definitely a huge hit to this defense. And yeah, it's just unfortunate. Cooper is a monster. Cooper is certainly a monster. We're not going to see Michael Gallup this week either, so they're going to have to rely on CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper. Don't sleep on Ezekiel Elliott, too. This is a fantastic time to buy low on Zeke. Yeah, John, I know that they said 6 to 8. Yeah, 6 to 8 weeks. I know you meant to type weeks. They said 6 to 8 weeks, but man, a broken foot for a defensive lineman, that's tough to come by. I see them they put him on IR, and they might keep him on IR, depending on how this Cowboys team does for the next month and a half. Again, to summarize, because we got to move on to the next game here. To summarize, I like this game a lot too. If I had to bet any side, I actually think that I would try to go with Dallas plus 3.5. I know that I talked about the Chargers offense being in a great spot, but Dallas is also in a very good spot too. So give me the plus 3.5 here as the road dog. Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Baltimore Ravens. Right now, the Kansas City Chiefs are minus 3.5 road favorites. Another road favorite this week, minus or plus 165 for Baltimore at home. The over and under looks like 55.5 here. Kansas City is the healthier team. That's really the only thing I have to say. They have the best offense in the league too. That's the second point that I have, and I don't really have anything good to say about Baltimore. They're coming off of a short week. They're coming off of a horrible loss. Snazzy coming through with the 5 gifted subs. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. How about Dallas plus 3? Yeah, I like plus 3.5, Nick. This feels like the safest bet of the week. Yep. Kansas City Chiefs, as I was saying, are the healthier team. They're the better team. They're the better offense. The Baltimore Ravens, like I said, it's tough to come back from a loss that even after just one game, it's tough. Monday Night Football lost in overtime. You have lost several defensive players. Marlon Humphrey is banged up. Maybe he was cramping late in that game, so we'll have to monitor that injury. But yeah, I'm not a fan of backing Baltimore in this spot. This does seem like one of the best spots to bet on the card here and feel very good about. So give me all the Kansas City Chiefs minus 3.5. Yeah, I think that's pretty self-explanatory. How about Dallas plus 3? You still like them at that spread? I do. I do like Dallas plus 3. Okay. All right. Anybody want to back the Ravens? I don't know if Goosty's in here right now, but I don't feel confident backing the Ravens this week. It might be a situation where we look at them down the road, but honestly, I think that they, one, are beat up. I think, two, they're probably a little bit more tired than they would be. There he is. There he is. LGB going to carry us to a double. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. I have a hard time backing the Ravens this week. I don't think that they can keep up points-wise with this Chiefs offense, especially with all the injuries that they have on both sides of the ball. Now, can they make it close? Can they make it a game? Sure, but the only chance that they have for me to cover is if they stop this Kansas City Chiefs offense, which obviously the Cleveland Browns weren't able to do last week, and I would have taken the Browns over the Ravens if we had to choose between one of them. So, with that being said, again, Kansas City Chiefs, one of my favorite bets of the week at minus 3.5. Now, the final game is a game near and dear to my heart. It's the Detroit Lions taking on the Green Bay Packers on Monday Night Football. This one is a minus 11.5 spread in Green Bay's favor. The Lions come in at plus 430 on the money line. Over under here sits at 48. But yeah, so the first thing I'll say is I can't bet in good conscience bet Green Bay minus 11.5. I think even if we saw them win last week, I still think that this number is too high. The Lions always play the Packers very, very close. And we saw last week that this team, even as bad as they are on paper, personnel wise, this Detroit Lions team has some dog in them. They have some fight in them. They don't give up. And we saw that last week against the 49ers. They were down 38 to 10. And then they came all the way back and almost pulled that thing off, only losing by about 7 or 8 points. So give me, if I had to pick a side, these two teams always play each other very, very close. They're in division. This game's Monday Night Football. If you remember correctly, and I know these two teams were completely different, but if you remember correctly, the last two primetime games, Detroit was winning for the majority of the games, and Green Bay was able to either score a game-winning field goal or they were able to get bailed out by a flag and have them score and get ahead and win those games. So give me Detroit plus 11.5. I don't feel comfortable with it, but I have to take the underdog points because I do think that this game is actually one that should be very, very competitive and very close throughout the entirety of the game. This is a good bounce back spot for Green Bay to win and get that offense clicking. But yeah, so if I had to feel comfortable with two things in this game, it would be the Lions plus 11.5 on one side, and then I would take the over of 48 because if you're backing the Lions to get within 11 points of Green Bay, and Green Bay scores 28 to 30 points in this spot, that means that the Lions should be able to put up enough points to get you over that 48 number. Yep, the chat agrees. Lions will be playing for Lions will be playing for draft picks, not W's. I think the Lions plus 11.5 is easy. W again. You have it at 10.5 for your pool, Nick. That is, I don't like 10.5 as much as 11.5, but you can still feel pretty comfortable betting 10.5 if you want to go there. We can talk and chat after this too, because I know that you got to get those bets in today. So feel free to send me a Discord DM and we can talk that out. It wouldn't be one of my top 5 favorite bets. So if you're talking about the Lions as one of those picks, they do not qualify as top 5 for me. Guys, we're reaching the end of the show here. I think I just wanted to thank all of you for tuning in and battling through the internet issues I had earlier in the stream. I think we've been able to, be live solid for 45 minutes now. I appreciate every single one of you tuning in. Again, thank you to BetOnline for being our trusted partner for the entirety of the 2021 NFL season. We'll catch you guys later for the Thursday afternoon stream where I will be going, we'll go talk some DFS for the Sunday game slate, but I really want to focus on the Thursday night slate, and we'll talk some props. We'll talk some Antonio Gibson shares. We'll talk some Taylor Heinicke versus Daniel Jones. And, of course, the Terry McLaurin play as well. Any other final questions or comments here? Because we do have about 45 seconds or so. Oh, yeah. Ty, thank you so much. Season-long play, Carolina or Colts, or pick one to cut for Jets. Give me the Colts there, Brian. And finally, guys, we'll be making an announcement on the MLB slate. I know that it's a messed up slate today with this Thursday night football game and with all the teams traveling on Thursdays. We're going to try to find a way still to have a podcast and continue to do all that stuff. So we'll have that out to you in the next probably half hour to an hour here, the news on that one. And then, we'll be talking football later today on stream. Again, appreciate you all hanging out with me this early in the day, and we'll catch you all here back in 2 hours at 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern time for the Strong Side NFL stream. As always, good morning and good skill.